Hey, what's going on, my friends, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Victor, and today I'm going to share with you 5 things I think you should know about this really profound, deeply spiritual, transformative, and beautiful full moon we have here on March 18th, 2022. Number 1, a different kind of safety. Most people, even us, for most of our lives, we try to find safety in our outer reality, where we go and we get a solid career, we get a home, things like that. We try to set up our reality so that we feel safe. Now, sometimes your spiritual awakening, as you may have discovered, it has this way of luring you, almost tricking you into circumstances where there's no safety to be found. There's nothing your mind can cling to convince itself that we are good. And this is uncomfortable, just being forced to dwell in the unknown. And sometimes what can happen is you can feel that almost existential restlessness, that lack of trust, even if everything's perfect in your reality. But regardless, if you relate with that, what I'm saying, you feel like you just don't feel safe in your life, in your body. It's because it's a time to find a different level of safety. And that level of safety you'll find not with arranging things in your life necessarily, you'll find it within yourself. There's an opportunity to really deepen your faith and knowingness that all is well. You are an eternal spirit. You are very much guided through synchronicity, through a divine source of guidance, and you can trust that. And then you can probably look back at your path so far and see that logically. But right now is a chance to really feel that. It's a different type of safety. I remember a long time ago, my whole life was in complete disarray. I was following my intuition and pursuing my life purpose. And that led me to such a precarious outer situation that I went to bed every single night, literally just pulsating with nervousness and anxiety. My whole family was living in a 21-foot RV. I have 3 children, a dog and a cat, a wife, and that was our home. That in itself brought forth its own lack of groundedness, because at any point we could be kicked out of the RV park or something. I had no money coming in. I was literally paying my bills, which I had kind of a lot because I have 3 kids, with credit cards. And I got to this point where all the credit cards were pretty much maxed out. And I felt like betrayed. I felt betrayed by my higher self because I really got to this position because I was following my intuition the whole time. I really was. And here I am in this horrible circumstance, no light at the end of the tunnel. And what I found is that I feel this way. I felt so anxious that I wasn't getting anything done. I was relapsing into these poor habits, these overeating and binging on donuts and things like that, my own little habits at the time. And what ended up happening is I had no choice. I had no choice but to let go and trust more. And I realized that I could feel safe. Even with all this craziness going on in my life, even with all these reasons to freak out, you can look out at the world, all this stuff going on that you can justify why it's okay to feel freaked out. But you might realize that state of being is not serving you. It's making it difficult to move forward in your life. It's making you unable to just relax and be happy. And it's an opportunity to say, you know what? Where do I go from here? What do I do? And that can drop you in to a deeper level of safety. Not dependent on anything, not reliant upon anything except you. 2, and this is sort of what I've noticed happening at other times in my life when this is kind of a theme, is that when things in the external might seem a little bit, unstable, there's oftentimes more divine synchronicity. rather more awareness of just how guided you actually are. So this is a whole week of where you might really just be kind of impressed and surprised and marvel at just how protected, how guided, how connected you are. Just yesterday, literally, there's been a theme I've been wrestling with. I'm not going to get into the whole details. It's unnecessary for this, but there's something I've been sort of like going through on my own journey and not really finding any resolve. And I had just finished a book yesterday morning, and I went to my bookshelf and I picked a new one. And I picked a book that actually my wife Patty bought. I just saw it there. It's called Radical Acceptance, actually. It's a really cool book by this woman. And I grabbed it, and I literally just I didn't know much about it because I didn't buy the book. I just flipped it open real quick. And one of the little headlines I came to, it spoke to my exact problem in such a more of a specific way than I could have articulated had I tried. I was like, holy cow, this is what I need. And I went and I sat down on my couch and I started reading. And literally, not only was that title synchronistic, but the information was precisely what I needed and haven't yet acquired in my own life that allowed me to have a major breakthrough. And it just one example. How much synchronicity have you been noticing lately? Now's the time where you might realize that there's nothing else to trust but that. But when you do, when you have no other bridges to go across and you just have this one path, this one sort of thing, and you do it, you realize, oh my goodness, this is a very worthy source of guidance. I can trust this. And man, the nice thing about this intuition is that it doesn't matter what's happening. It's always there. All I have to do is drop into it. Number 3, all of this is kind of a progression, as you'll see. I wrote down spring cleaning. You might start to become hyper aware of what I'll call the stale energy in your life. And the stale energy can be anything. For me, as an example, it's been like the clutter that's accumulated in my house. And you wouldn't think, I wouldn't think clutter, especially when it's in a drawer or something, a disorganized drawer. How does that affect the energy of the location, the environment, which in turn affects the people there? But when you start to open up spiritually, as all of us are, especially now amplified by the full moon, you might start to realize, oh my goodness, this actually does make a difference. Even logically, you understand it. And that might compel you to rearrange the energy of your own life. And I know a lot of us are probably feeling like we want more simplicity in our life. A lot of times we find ourselves doing a lot of different things, and then we get to these points in our life where we realize, man, number 1, I don't want to do all this different stuff. I just kind of am. I think I need to. And 2, you start to realize that maybe you don't need to. Maybe there are a few areas of your life that you can really go all in with, and those would be enough to, sustain your time here on earth and fulfill you, and also just give you more time to be, more time to relax into a state of joy and expansiveness and just playfulness. And a lot of us, we don't play anymore. We're always doing, we're always working, we're always striving, we're always willing ourselves forward. We're always trying to get out of some situation and into another one. And this can make us quite busy, a lot of times unnecessarily. I have this therapist or coach named Doug, and he always says, Victor, this is the good times. It's not going to be when you reach the mountain. Right here, right now, in the struggle, in the unknown, this is the good times you will look back on and say, man, those were the good times. Funny, I say that even as I mentioned at that one point, I was living in this RV, in credit card debt, freaking out every night. I look back at that time with nostalgia. And I wish I could have been more present. I wish I could have seen how beautiful and unique of an experience that was. I wish I could have known at the time that, dude, it's all going to be okay. It all is always not only okay, satisfactory, but every single one of us, you, me, us, people connected to this energy, you could say, We're on a path of awakening, on a path of ascension, on a path of progression, on a path of expansion. Expansion of us. More and more of us is coming online and being manifested in our life, creating that feeling of harmony and flow and resonance. And as it does, it's pushing to the surface all the blockages, all the impediments, all the traumas. And that process, that transition can be uncomfortable. But fundamentally, vibrationally, we're heading up. And we have been for a long time, and we will continue to probably into the day we die. And as this happens, more and more and more, we're becoming aware of just the divine aspect of us, the divine foundation that we are. And that we can rely on that, we can trust on that, we can use that to create consciously an amazing life of blessings and opportunities and abundance and joy. But anyway, long story short, what can help you with this is maybe clearing out the energy in your life, in your business. Maybe it's in your relationships. Maybe there's some unsaid things, some things you've been sort of harboring and tucking in a little corner of your mind that all of a sudden it feels like you need to address it. For me, again, it was something as mundane as clearing out the energy of my house. Regardless, if you take this time to really get your hands dirty and do some spring cleaning, what you'll find is this like huge rejuvenation in your energy. You'll feel this sense of expansiveness, this opening happening in your life. And it will allow you to reside more so in that safety within and not get so preoccupied with what's happening in your world out there. You'll start to just spend more time mentally within. And the more you do this, just the more things will flow in all areas of your life. Number 4, through all of this transformation, you might also be picking up on the fact that there is something new trying to come through in your life. It will probably have a lot to do with your life purpose or your next big phase or chapter or direction, area of focus in your life. And it might not be clear right now, but it's a really good time to, in a sense, let things play out. I know sometimes I've been a bit overzealous and I would have like an inkling of an idea where I could feel something new coming through and it'd feel exciting, it would resonate. And consequently, I'd want to figure it out. What is it? Let's just start. And I would find that sometimes there's a timing aspect here. And this happened to me earlier this year. You may have heard me talking about it. My good friend, best friend in the world, Aaron Dowdy, he's also another YouTuber. We had this sort of epiphany, you could say, in Costa Rica when we were drinking plant medicine, that we're gonna like combine forces. We're gonna do something together. And it felt so real, especially in that sort of medicine land. It just felt like this is God's plan sort of thing. Wow, this feels so real and so right. So we got home and we immediately tried to like combine our businesses, combine our purposes, if you will. And it got really messy really quickly within our friendship. And we had all these kind of kinks to iron out. And then we eventually just, we went back to the way the things were. And now we're good. We're in this good place. But now it's like we were out to dinner a couple nights ago and we both felt like we were returning to that same feeling that there's going to be a big project that we partner up in. But we've learned from recent experience, as I mentioned, not to rush things, not to jump into things, to just really understand that sometimes we need to go through certain things, certain just life experiences to get the clarity, get the little pieces of the puzzle that we need, and we can relax and just sort of trust. When this thing is meant to be, it will be. When we need to know, we'll know. And in the meantime, let's enjoy the prospect of whatever it is. We can dream about it, but not be too attached, not be too fixated on how it needs to be, not be too impatient. Number 5, as you might find yourself naturally going deeper within your level of trust and faith that everything is good, you're always progressing, you might also find yourself with an opportunity to go deeper into your heart and really let people in. A lot of us keep ourselves protected with what I call heart walls because we've been hurt in the past, all of us in some way. Even as little children, mom suddenly gets a new job and you're 3 years old and all of a sudden mom's not there. And we're so young, we're so sensitive and so emotional that it's very easy to develop these little mini traumas that may be due to something sort of obvious and severe, and oftentimes it's not. But regardless, it causes us to man, I don't want to feel so vulnerable. So it's a risk. It's a risk to let people in. It's a risk to love fully. So a lot of us have stopped doing that. But what you might realize is that sometimes life will put people in your life that see through that see through your facade into all of your imperfections, all of your issues. They can see your scary shadow clear as day, but they accept you anyway. They're okay with that. The one time we used to see this psychic named Jennifer in Sedona, and she told me at one of the first meetings, she said, your wife Patty sees you. She'd look at you really deadlock in the eyes. She said she sees you for who you are, and she loves you anyways. Even then, Jennifer could see that I was protecting myself from my wife of 15 years. And you might find out that even though protecting yourself, it is safer, you lessen the chance of getting hurt, but it's blocking you from love. You're depriving other people also from your deeper essence, your deeper presence that, man, people will want to experience, but it comes down to you letting those walls down, letting the mask slip, and letting people in to your heart, even though there is a risk, even though it could theoretically get broken, even though it is scary, even though it might literally make you shake to do so. This awakening is not only about, this mass ascension is not only about manifestation and 5D wizardry, psychic sort of abilities coming online and piercing the veil. No, a lot of that's sort of just a side effect of us having a heart awakening, opening up our hearts really. And that's, in my opinion, why there's a lot of huge things happening in the world. I can foresee an eventual effect is people opening their hearts. And not just seeing, not just understanding logically, but feeling at the depth of each cell in their body where we are, where we stand with our friends and partners and people, where we stand with our viewpoint of other human beings on the planet. And this awakening, it feels like it's demanding us to open our hearts. And you might find out of all the things you've done in your life, all the leaps of faith you've taken, all the courageous acts you've exhibited, opening your heart might be the hardest freaking thing imaginable. It might be the scariest thing, it might be your worst nightmare to open up your heart. And yet now it feels like it's the only way. And I'm right there with you. Life is putting me in circumstances where I realize it's like it has to happen. Sometimes your awakening will sort of wedge you into this corner where you know you have to do this thing. And if you don't, you're going to start to experience nothing but resistance. Reflections of your own resistance. But it's scary when the thing is opening your heart. And yet that's where we are. What happens? What happens every time we find ourselves trembling at the starting line of some new thing that we feel intuitively guided to do? What happens? Usually it is scary as hell. Sometimes there is some growth and healing necessary, but the result is like a paradigm shift, a new way of being, a new way of identifying with yourself and life, a deeper level of presence, more love, more expansiveness, more flow, more ease, more beauty, more recognition of the beauty in each and every moment. And before I go, to help you with all of this, I want to share with you what I do every single week the tip of the week. Here's a tip that will really help you just see so many results from this amazing full moon. Quiet time for healing and manifestation. Quiet time. That's what that book I was reading suggested to me, by the way, with my issue. It said you just have to learn to just sit with your feelings. I've known this, we've all heard this. But yesterday, and since yesterday morning, all day yesterday and some of today, I've been doing that. I've been just sitting with no distractions, not meditating, sitting. And as I've been doing that, I've been realizing that, wow, I'm pretty good at identifying these different sort of states of being I oscillate through and shift through within a span of 5 or 10 minutes. And I realized that if I can just sit with myself and allow myself to feel whatever's there, those feelings kind of can come and go. Pretty quickly, pretty smoothly, painlessly. Even if they're dark, scary feelings, if I allow them, they come and go. And as I allow this sort of unraveling of an onion of my emotional body, I find that I'm sinking deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into peace, into presence, into trust, into love and openness. Also, in that space, downloads, ideas, pieces of the puzzle for that new thing coming through clear as day. And a lot of times that the first thing I talked about, that existential angst, that restlessness, it makes us compulsively be busy. Whatever it is, whatever your version of business is, it makes us always be busy. And we justify, like, this has to get done. But what we're really doing is allowing those emotions to sort of be stuck there and fuel our actions in a very unconscious way. And oftentimes the more uncomfortable you feel, the more pressing it is for you to go sit on the floor, stare at the ceiling, and just let yourself feel those feelings. And oftentimes you just feel them start lifting very quickly. So I'm just telling you, this week during the full moon, the best thing I could recommend is just being with yourself, allowing yourself to just be, even if you feel uncomfortable. That's okay. And the allowance will probably lead to not only a bunch of profound insights about cool things you can do in your life, but also you might realize that there's a deeper level of foundational and base default state of being presence that you can start to rest in. You can start to rest, start to go through life more present, more mindful, and you might just see everything in your life changing. And even if things aren't changing so much dramatically on the outside, what you might find is that you're just a lot happier. You're a lot just more present to the cool, beautiful, amazing miracles each and every day of your life. And before I go, I want to let you all know that this June, myself, my wife Patty, we're hosting a retreat. We've done these 15, 20 times. We're doing one this year in Sedona this June. And what this is, it's a gathering of like-minded people, mostly people who watch this channel, people who are going through a spiritual awakening and are interested in coming together for a group experience with the themes of healing, transformation, and clarity of purpose. And when you just sort of we've been doing this 15, 20 times, like I said, and because we do it in Sedona, and because cool, high vibe people like you come to it, it's always truly miraculous. The healing, the transformation, the blocks you can lift, the clarity you can get, the confidence you can feel is just mind-blowing. And I'm not saying that to brag about my own retreat, because I have a small portion of it. I'm like the guy who gathers the powerful souls like you to come together, and I lay the foundation, and we hold the container as a team and allow for this magic to happen that takes each and every one of you. And the friendships, the bonds that are formed there, because when you heal with people, it's reminds me of, I'm not going to go into that, but I used to be in a drug rehab. It reminds me of that. You just bond with people so quickly because it's so real. And anyway, it's like that, where you might only be with us for a couple of days, 3 days, really, 4 days, but at the end, you might have lifelong friendships. And it's like soul family type of friendship. So it's an amazing thing that we do, and we used to do these retreats all the time because we live in Sedona, basically. We do like 5 or 6 a year. Where now we're in Austin, we only do it one time a year, and this one in particular is almost filled up. So this is something that's calling to you. Want to check it out? I'll leave a little link up there on the video and also down below in the description box. Click it and it'll give you all the details to see if it's the right fit for you. And when, again, it is almost full, even though it's not until June. Just want to let you know that. Regardless, I'll see you all next week. Have an amazing day. Much love. Peace.